Hello, my fellow life administrators. Ryan Talon here. Just a quick programming note for episode 4. You might notice that there is a little distortion in the microphones. We had some issues with our lapel mics in this one. Never to fear, in episode 6, we are completely changing over, so you will notice a much better increase in audio quality. So bear with us through this one, and let's get on to the episode.
Now, lifeadministration.com presents the Life Administration Podcast. Here are your hosts, Leslie Loftus and Ryan Talon.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Life Administration Podcast. My name is Ryan Talon, and with me, as always, is Leslie Loftus. We're just going to keep that one in. We're going to keep rolling.
That was an excellent concept. Hello, everyone. How are you?
I feel like I am stuck inside the space-time continuum. This feels like I've done this before, oddly for some reason.
This year, perhaps?
Yes. Why don't we tell the good folks at home what happened yesterday?
Mic failure. The batteries on our lapel mics ran out, and we didn't notice we were 40 minutes into
Yep, 40 minutes, had about 5 minutes
left.
It was going well.
We were pretty excited about how it's going,
and then specifically my mic stopped working. And
I'm glad you at least caught it.
I threw a hissy fit and took my ball and went home. Sounds out here.
But we did decide we were too agitated to start over.
So, and especially on such a wonderful topic as far as making a beautiful home. You can't be agitated when you're talking about this particular topic. Oh my goodness. So this is a big one. One of the most requested episodes we had. So another reason why we're doing it early. Why are we talking about making a beautiful home today? I think first maybe we should define beautiful homes in general.
Okay. Well, we're not talking about beauty in the sense of aesthetic or design. I'm not going to go through Pinterest things and look at mid-century modern or late Victorian. Those are all styles. Mm-hmm. This is beautiful in the more abstract sense of a place that is welcoming, a place that is restful, a respite from the rest of the world where you and your family come in and go, oh, thank goodness I'm home. Now, the style that you put on it, that does help with the beautiful part, but really what we're talking about is the underneath bit for right now. Think of when you watch any makeover shows or something. They start with hair and makeup, or even if they have you do the clothes first, they will do your hair because otherwise you just got new clothes on. They have to get the foundations right, and then the flourishes that you put on top of it end up. They do come off as beautiful and come off as welcoming and all of those things that we want to have. And the reason we're talking about it, because this one will be a little less technical in life administration, but ultimately it's the one that people really want to know about.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of the goal that you want to get to here.
Yeah. And I think, so the enemy of beautiful in this case is chaos, right?
Yes.
So really what we're trying to boil this down to is eliminating chaos in your home. Right. And we kind of talked about in the last episode some of the basics of life administration, as it were. And so this is like the next level, right? Mm-hmm. So we're sort of assuming that you listened to the last podcast.
Yes.
You got all those things in play.
And we're going to repeat that about 3 or 4, because about 4 times in here I'm kind of trying to say, start with filing first. Get your paperwork. Your foundation is to get your paperwork under control, because it can kill any aesthetic. No matter how well designed, how beautiful your house is. If somebody comes in and takes a photo shoot, paperwork will kill it for you and your family. Yeah, absolutely. So good. This is the icing on the cake, as it were. And I think also too, if you've gone back to the previous episode, you put those practices in place, you're going to find that this is going to come a lot easier to you. Exactly. And also, this is a bit more fun. We're now getting into a little bit more of the, I like actually doing this. Yeah, you do it and then you feel good about it, right? So I had a tongue stick out. You didn't mute the computer. Off to an amazing start. We are off to an amazing start.
Okay, so let's shift gears here and let's get into the nuts and bolts of this. Let's talk about zoning for this particular instance. What are we talking about when we say in-home zoning?
one of the ways you can control, or maybe you can control chaos in the house, is to have spaces where things happen, activities happen. So one of the simplest ones people think of is you're moving into a new house. You figure out where you're going to watch TV, and then you orient the couch to where you watch TV.
That's where it stops for me. Oh,
And
the
this-
TV squared?
Right.
All the boxes can just stay where they're at.
And honestly, that's where it stops for most people.
Yeah.
That is real, but you need to do that kind of zoning for everything. In fact, my husband's now gotten used to this, but this was one of those early lessons that I got from my friend Nancy Brown, and I took this one. So when we go and we're getting a new apartment because we're moving, or we're moving houses or whatever, before I do the floor plan, I do the activity zones. Where's the stuff going to land when we come in the door? Which door are we going to use? Most often, where's the mixing going to happen in the kitchen? So I've got my husband and 2 children that like to bake. So, there's an area kind of where baking occurs and mixing occurs. Where are we going to pay bills? Where am I going to keep the files? All of that. I set all of that stuff before I set up furniture.
Yeah. Wow. That's such a shift from the way that I would think about it, but it makes total sense. As a matter of fact,
Just draw big bubbles.
Yeah.
Even just rough out your floor plan and just draw big bubbles.
this is one of those things that when we were driving home yesterday, we were talking about sometimes how you say things that we've heard a lot, but you say it in a way that kind of speaks to me in a new way, or speaks to Sean in a new way. And I think what you just said right there, that was one of those things that I think that most people would never approach when they look to go buy a house or whatever. It's maybe they focus not on the right things completely. Maybe it's you're really focused on curb appeal, but yet you only sort of see that for 10 seconds a day, right?
And as far as the family's concerned,
Mhm.
curb appeal is the thing that you should care least about. Now, curb appeal is a big deal when you're selling a house or buying a house or whatever. But the fact is, what's much more functional for the family feeling is the entryway and how the mudroom or the drop room is set up as soon as you walk into the house.
Mhm.
That has a bigger impact on the family that lives there than the actual curb appeal does.
Yeah.
But curb appeal is what we tend to focus on.
So we're going to touch upon this next topic a little bit more in depth in the podcast, but having a beautiful home has an effect on you mentally, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Honestly, this is really about less stress. Chaotic homes, unpredictable homes. Look, there's just so much stress. Nobody knows what to expect. Nobody knows where to find that bill, that sock. Nobody has a clue even where to start looking for it. It adds time onto your day that you don't necessarily, our days are already scheduled so much, really. The 5 extra minutes needed to find the sunglasses can be a pain in the butt.
You never heard anyone say, I need less time in my days. That's not something that people say, right?
It can save you money in the short run or in the long run, because a lot of times people are trying to create a beautiful home on top of a chaotic one and think, oh, well, if I can just get this part to look right, then it'll spread. And actually, chaos is a very greedy thing, and it kind of goes, and it doesn't really how lovely to, remember, you might be a little too young for this, but when I was a kid in the 70s, it was the thing. Everybody still had a formal living room for the most part. Houses were still designed with a formal living room that they really don't have anymore. And even older houses that have been resold, the formal living room has been recast into, an office or whatever it is. But so many houses when I was growing up, there was a formal living room. One of my girlfriend's mothers actually used to vacuum in a certain pattern. So if there were footsteps on the carpet, she knew that the girls had gone in there and gotten it right, because it was the room that you couldn't touch. That was the only way to keep the chaos of the household from going into that space.
Nobody knows it.
Nobody, really, they were really rooms.
Quarantine.
They were almost like museum rooms. Nobody went in there. There was every once in a while somebody would have a party and that room would be used. But for the most part, in our house, we eventually put a piano in it. One downstairs that you can control.
Yeah.
We put that piano in it, and so Trey and I would go down there, and that's where we would practice piano. But sometimes like prom later, and we had photo sessions in there. But that was about it, right?
This is the nice room. This is where we take pictures.
Right,
That was lots of
exactly.
people in there.
Exactly. And the rest of the house could be chaos, but there was this one room, and the only way it stayed nice was nobody was allowed to go in it or touch it.
Yeah. So for me, it like bleeds out, right?
Mhm.
So a couple podcasts, if you're a loyal life administration podcast listener, you will know that a couple weeks ago, I got my carpets cleaned. And my dog then decided to have like a vomit session upstairs. Well, wouldn't you know it? So then today comes, I get this 9 o'clock meeting. I have to be here for 11. I got a lot of stuff going on today, right? I wake up at about 4 o'clock to hearing some sort of noise in the background. I wake up, I go, that sounds like my dog. There is now on the bottom floor, because we already took care of the top floor, on the bottom floor, there is everything. That's all I want to say. All of the things. Is right. If there's a thing, it happens. And it was.
Is the dog okay? Any idea? Tiny bugs? Something?
No, he licks the carpet. Like you think he just licks the carpet. And so I'm sure he's licking like detergent, and he's not that sick, he's getting sick, and then it repeats, and there's not really a whole lot that we can do. And the other option is to put him in his kennel, but then that means that I would have woken up with a nasty kennel. Regardless, this is where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
So I then have to scrub and clean and do all the things, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna let my wife sleep. I'm gonna take this one for the team, you know. And anyway, by the time I get done, it's 6 o'clock, but I'm like exhausted. I'm like, okay, well, I can catch a little bit of right. But now I wake up and I'm already angry. So this like thing happens. Well, then my keys weren't in the right spot, and I'm rushing because I slept a little bit late. Right? Keys weren't in the right spot. Sunglasses were in the right spot. The soap in the shower was not refilled, so I had no soap. All of these things that took a ton of time. And it put me in this mood that was not awesome. And it took me a car ride to like literally sort of pull myself out of it.
You had to actively pull yourself. Like you had to recognize that you were spiraling in this, and that your stress cup was overflowing.
It was
and
nasty.
Say, okay, take some deep breaths, get this going. You had to actively bring it back down.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it was all for little piddly
Yep,
stuff.
and because the reality was if my house was set up the right way, this chaotic thing could have happened. It could have been dealt with, and then nothing would have happened in my morning.
Right.
Because that's life.
Right.
Things are going to happen. Anyway, so I digress. I say all that to say that if your baseline, if your home, if the place that you spend the most time is not settled, you will not be settled.
Right.
And that will affect your relationships. It will affect your marriage. It will affect how you treat your kids. It will affect how you perform at work.
I don't know. I never snap at my children.
Yeah.
I'm stressed.
So there's a
My
ton of,
children, if they listen to this, are laughing.
and I think the reality is that people don't understand how much stress this causes.
Yes, because they think of it in the individual, like, okay, it's really a small amount of stress that you didn't find your sunglasses.
Yeah.
It's really a small amount of stress that you didn't maybe a little bit bigger that you didn't get a full night's sleep.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of stress that you had to clean the carpet.
Yeah.
Right. But by the time a little bit of stress, a little bit of stress, a little bit of stress, then a bit more stress. And by the way, it gets cumulative.
Yeah.
So by the time you walk out in the morning, you're already, that's already flowing.
Steam was coming out of my ears. And by the way, if anybody wants a black schnauzer that's 10 years old, you can take him. I'm done with this talk. Even my wife said it this morning. My wife, I was just like, okay, like we're you guys know this is a journey for me. Being on this podcast is not I'm trying to employ these things into my life. We're turning a page in our life. We're trying to do things differently. And this morning it was just like, okay, can we get a break? Can we just get a break? All right.
And I'm not going to help you here either, but 10-year-old dog, it's going to get...
Oh, I know the direction it's going. I know the direction. So,
because that just, especially with a dog that size, that just suggests you're entering into the old age.
Yeah, so I buckle up, Buttercup. It's about to get.
Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway.
Don't have much better advice
So,
than that.
Well, we're back after that 30-second commercial break about my dog and sunglasses and keys. Hopefully you stay with us.
If notice, Ryan's 30-second commercial breaks are never 30 seconds.
That's how I draw them in. Like, oh, this is only going to be 30 seconds. And then I'm so captivating they don't care.
Yeah.
That's it. No.
That's totally it.
Yeah. Mark Frederick. Drop that out. All right. Anyway. All right. So we talked about all these little stress events that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
What about these big events, right? So I sort of come to the point of, do I have to maintain this beautiful home all the time? Or are there certain things that are going to happen in my life that this is not my priority anymore?
No, you don't have to maintain it all the time. The more you can maintain it, the more you're in the habit of maintaining it, it will make those moments, and they do come, much easier. But yes, there will be times, we can name some of the big ones, the big 10 stressors, death in the family. You and I both went through one of those in the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Each of us lost our fathers. And just complete fog for quite a while. That's one of the ways that this stuff can help, because the more that you've got these rhythms and these zones established, then you don't have to think about them.
Yeah.
So when you go through those times that, new baby and you're not getting any sleep, and you are kind of walking through a fog, well, if in the military, they call it muscle memory. They just train it so you don't have to think about the action that you're doing.
Yep.
Right. So some of this making a beautiful home is about setting these patterns so much that when you don't have executive function, you can go through the motions a little bit and get some of this base stuff done. So the recovery is not so hard later. But for goodness sake, yes, there will be times moves are big. I mean, obviously, because you break all your zones. And then you lose things in various boxes and such. So moves are job transitions, school transitions. Let's say even you have, your kid is going from elementary to middle school. Well, that changes exactly what kind of comes in the door in the afternoon in the terms of backpacks and laptops. And it totally shifts. And all of a sudden, what worked for 5 years before doesn't work anymore now. Now that's a smaller, minor one, but they cause breakdowns in the system all the time. But yeah, the big life events that you know about are obviously going to do it. And then there will be other things that break certain systems or break things for just a little while.
Yeah, and also, you wrote in our show notes, it's easier on your budget in the long run. So we're kind of shifting gears from yes, it's okay to break that sort of thing. But here's some other benefits of why you should be having a quote unquote beautiful home. It's easier on your budget in the long run.
Right.
Because
one of the people like to try to cover for beautiful and making things beautiful the way that they see it in the design magazine. So they go out and spend a lot of money on the new items, getting new lamps for this, furniture for this, convinced that this is going to make it work. But one, they might not have thought about the zoning. Really, you don't need a dresser there. You need an armoire there because actually you don't have a coat closet. You don't have anywhere where you can hang things up, and you live in Minnesota. This would be a problem. A no coat closet in Houston, Texas is not such a big deal.
Right.
No umbrella thing, little bit more.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So think through these things. So, what's the function of the furniture? But people will go out and they will try to copy an image, copy an actual visual aesthetic, and end up wasting a whole lot of money on things that they ultimately don't need or ultimately don't work for them.
And I would put on top of that you might capture the aesthetic, but you've lost the functionality of that zone. So yes, it looks beautiful. Yes, it's exactly like that Pinterest picture, but I actually now can't use it for anything. It all of a sudden becomes like that room. Yeah, the room. Back in the day, it's like, okay, well, don't touch this area, right? Yeah, that's awful. And I think also having a beautiful home, it's easier to have a sense of community. You tend to,
absolutely. If you have a nice aesthetically pleasing, because eventually you want to get to aesthetically pleasing. If you have a calm, welcoming, aesthetically pleasing home, well, guess what? If nothing else, you're more likely to invite people over for a dinner party or for cocktails. I can't tell you how many times there's a lot of talk these days about socializing, how we don't do
This is
enough.
about to be a commercial break. Hit you with it.
We don't do enough socializing with each other, especially neighbors and community. And one of the reasons we don't do this is our lives have gotten so busy that we really don't have time to do these bringing into the home. But when you dig down and you ask people why they actually don't do the party, like maybe growing up, their parents had lots of parties and they loved it and they thought it was great and everybody came in and, you know, sometimes it was a bridge party, sometimes it was a cocktail party, whatever it was, kids loved it. Why don't you do it now when you're grown up? Well, first one comes up is I don't have time, but what they don't have time to do is get their house show ready.
Right.
First of all, we're allowing Pinterest perfection pressure to get, there's a lot of peace, to get in the way and, okay, I can't have people over until my house is perfect. Wrong. Hey, you can't have people over until your house is welcoming. And what you're really feeling is when you have, you know, paperwork all over the place, you really don't have it. It will take you 2 days to get your house into the state where you would want to invite people over.
But then by the time you do it, you're so tired, you don't want to invite people over anymore.
Exactly. And then you do it once, you think, okay, I'm going to power through it, but you've not really been entertained for a while. And so then the cleanup on the other side, even if it's relatively small, is just the one more thing that you're like, by the way, we will have a podcast on how to throw a party, and, you know, how to throw a casual party even so we can get through this. But yeah, so it takes a while to get ready for the party. Then you actually throw the party. Then you have the cleanup after the party, and even people that power through all of that and try it once are like, forget that. I do not have time for that.
Yeah. So that brings me to our next big point. Having a party. So I'm just sort of thinking about this, right? Having a party, cleaning up the party, getting set up for the party, that requires rhythms to do in a way that doesn't kill you, right? Like, y'all throw more parties than anyone I know.
On the mini cast for the to-do list, if users catch me, I quote, one of them is the party prep list. Because I already have a list of these are the things that we do 2 days before a party, the day before the party, the morning of the party. I've already got that. So, because it's the same thing every time.
And what is bonkers to me is that you'll have a party on a Wednesday. I'll come over here on a Thursday morning and literally will have no idea that a party happened here last night until somebody actually mentions that you had a party. And then I go, wait, what? Because you guys have this so dialed that it's like easy peasy lemon squeezy.
First of all, there was a lot of trial and error in that.
Right.
Second of all, now, since I do have more parties and some of our parties are bigger, so the parties that you don't necessarily recognize the next day, those are usually the smaller ones. You know, we just have friends over for dinner, but yes.
But even like the Game of Thrones party, like that wasn't like a huge...
watch parties are easy. Okay, but I grant, I've been doing watch parties since Buffy the Vampire Slayer was out, and I have had a lot of, and I've done some trial and error on those, and then credit where credit is due. Nowadays, I have the lovely Cynthia, who is my personal assistant and party gal, who helps with a lot of that. You know, so she stays through the party. Her whole tagline for that is that, you know, she does the back of the house so that you can entertain your guests. So there's a lot, like, if you're going to have parties every 2 weeks, like Jim and I seem to do,
feels like
then, you need to get a lot of, there needs to be a lot of planning. But right now, as we're talking about the beginner stuff, and when I'm saying to you, the listener, throw a party, I'm more talking work. That's one of the things we'll talk about in the party planning episode is work yourself up. There is no reason you need to throw a 5-course dinner party for your first affair. That is just insane.
Yeah.
I'm going to say go with a cocktail party or a watch party.
Yes.
Yeah.
So more to come on that.
More to come on that. Because really that one's about building community and building your neighborhood.
Absolutely.
And that's huge.
But
your house has to, if it's going to take you 2 days to get your house into the welcoming state, then that's just one more really huge barrier to, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So we're talking about having that as a baseline. So with the exception of when you've brought a new baby home, you know, your house is not ready for anything at that point except the new baby. Your house in general is ready for inviting people.
Right. So rhythms, having a rhythm is also about managing your expectations.
Yes. It's stressful for people when they don't know what's coming next.
Right.
Some people get more stressed about it than others. I believe you have.
I have one of those.
You have some insight into that.
Yep.
But it stresses everybody out a little bit. And once again, it's kind of that cumulative thing. So, having rhythms is also about, everybody in the household generally knows when dinner's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, at our stage now, it's not unusual for children. We tend to have dinner is set at 7 unless I say otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So about 5 o'clock, it's not crazy for me to go into the 4 kids in my son's room and the 3 kids in my daughter's room and the 2 kids with the twins and say, who's staying for dinner? Because I need to know, how much. And also I have learned when they were younger, I could do more specific meal planning. Now I tend to do something I tend to make a lot of pasta dishes because if all of a sudden I know I don't have 6 people for dinner, I have 12, which has happened. Yes, I can stretch that.
Yeah.
Same thing if I was expecting 6 people for dinner, but then this happened. So now I only have 3. Well, I can shrink it. So, at my stage in life now, I'm doing a lot of meals that do that kind of thing. But the same thing happens almost every school night.
Yeah.
About 5 o'clock, I'm checking with everybody. What's the plan? About 7 o'clock, we're sitting. So everybody knows what's going on. And if that's not going to be what happens, they've probably been told it.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, and I shared this story yesterday that people didn't hear, so I'll share it again. That for me, like, if I tell my wife, tomorrow we're going to Galveston, that is a high anxiety sort of situation for her because, we have a 3-year-old, she has some food restrictions, there's a certain order to things that we have to do. Yes. So if I say, okay, we're going to Galveston, halfway there, we're going to stop at place Y. We're going to get these foods. Our daughter can have them. We're going to then drive to Galveston. This is where we're staying. Then we're going to go do this. We'll be back for nap time, put her down in bed. Then we'll watch a movie and hang out and chill. She'd be like, I love it.
Even if it zigs. Even if you
Absolutely.
get halfway down the road and it turns out that restaurant is closed.
Yep. Or because we were going to the water park.
Right. That's fine. I mean, the zigs don't bother her as much. Incidentally, it sounds like from things my brother says, my sister-in-law's that's totally normal. And they just have a lower tolerance for that kind of unknown anxiety. But everybody has a tolerance level for that kind of anxiety. And reducing it is just a little bit of planning.
Yep.
In this case, there's some base planning that goes on to keep it kind of on an even keel. And keep things at a certain level of expectations, and then you can deal with the 6.
Yeah, there's that, the term fear of the unknown, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, just take the unknown out of it, and then the fear goes away typically too. For people that are like that, and I'm starting to get like that. The more that I am with her, the longer we've been married, the more I sort of become accustomed to like knowing, okay, this is what's happening, and this is what's happening, and this is what's happening.
And also, not only is stress build up, and not only does it get cumulative, so it's just a little bit here, but then the next time you add, it's a little bit more, even if it's the same level. It's also contagious.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
It's contagious.
That's true. Okay, so where do we start? Getting our rhythms in place. Paperwork, right? That'd be the first place we start?
I'm always going to suggest paperwork is a good, first of all, it's an it's not necessarily easy, but it's a nice contained thing you can do. You can figure out how you're going to sort your mail. You can figure out your filing. By the way, we have a mini cast on exactly how to set this up. But if you have a place for your paper to land, then it's less likely to get completely overblown and swamp you.
And then set daily, weekly, monthly schedules.
Right, and then after that, as we discussed in the to-do mini cast, start to set your daily, weekly, and monthly rhythms. So things like laundry on Monday. So that laundry's contained on Monday or Saturday to catch-all day, because otherwise you're constantly thinking, oh, I need to do that. Oh, I didn't get it all done yesterday. So it just, okay, no, because if you didn't get it all done on Monday, then that chore now bumps to Saturday.
Yeah.
Not bumps to every single day. So now you have the cumulative, oh, I need to do this and that.
Yeah.
So compartmentalize.
Okay. Full disclosure here. So we're working so we're in the last podcast. We're at like the base level of this. My wife and I, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I hear you. I hear everything you're saying. And I would imagine that some of our listeners are sort of feeling like I'm feeling right now. Like, dude, I don't even really know where to begin. Like, I understand paperwork first, but I kind of already got that under control because I did the last, or I followed the last directive in the last podcast. So now it's like, now what, right? I want to get my home to this state that brings me peace and brings me joy. If it's a complete disaster, if people are thinking, I have no idea where to even begin, but I have done some things, like I am on this journey with us, where should they start? Like what room, what task, where should they go?
Okay. First, I will recommend start with your home entry point, your mudroom area, your drop spot. Okay, because everybody uses that multiple times a day.
Now, mudroom, is that like a British term?
It's becoming now because now it's all over like design. It's the room where you come in from the garage.
Okay,
Yeah,
you're the only person I ever hear say mudroom, so that's why.
I see you don't read enough design blogs.
Clearly, I don't. Dude, busted.
Okay, you're the entry point of your house. So
Okay.
whichever door you and your family come in the most often, start to set that space so it works for you. So there's a place for your keys. There's a place for purses, briefcases, backpacks, whatever. Because different people have different families have different. Patrick plays soccer now, so we have soccer gear that needs to go in place. We didn't have that 3 years ago. Go through your activities zones. So go back to the zone thing that we talked about earlier of different activities. Think through what you do most often. This is why I'm suggesting starting with the entryway because family members use it multiple times a day. Then go to your next thing that your specific family uses the most often. It's a little bit like the 1, 2, and 3 motion storage we talked about.
Got it.
Right. So if it's something that you use multiple times a day, it gets 1 motion storage. Something you use once a week, it gets 2 motion storage. I have to move something out of the way to get it out. Same thing. The stuff that you do all the time, work in that priority.
Nice. That's great. That's great. That makes a lot of sense because then you can just, because it's like you walk in the house, it's like everybody goes to the entryway. Everyone goes, wherever, to the kitchen or right? And then people kind of disperse, right? And then you can sort of do what makes sense for your family.
And a household that has 3 boys might disperse in a different way than a household that has 4 roommate musicians.
Yeah, exactly.
It just looks different, right? So you have to, but yes, most likely you're going to end up with entryway, kitchen and or laundry, then kitchen and or laundry would be my hunch. And then from there would disperse.
So great. That's a great place. That's a great place to stop. Okay. So now comes the tenuous topic of the junk drawer. I mean, some people say no junk drawer.
Yeah, I think that having no junk drawer is letting the perfect get in the way of the good. I mean, because sometimes.
Oh man, write that down. The perfect getting in the way of the good. That's great.
Yeah. Sometimes you just need a place to, throw the scissors or whatever because, the toddler's running around and you've got to take them out of her hand, but you don't have time to go put it over in the actual, I'm fine with, you don't need my approval, but.
But if you're looking for it.
Yeah, my recommendation is don't do more than a junk drawer and maybe a junk cabinet. And make them small enough that where did I put that? Okay, it's probably in the junk cabinet. You should be able to lay hands on it without having to pull the whole thing out. Right. And that's also why I'm limiting the space because it means, once that cabinet gets full up, then one of the things that needs to go on your to-do list is tackle it. Yep. Tackle it.
Take the words right out of my mouth.
Right. And get it on, contain the craziness.
Yeah. Yeah.
But accept the craziness because there's some crazy coming on in life. And I'm sorry, anybody that says that you can't have a junk drawer at all, it's just.
Yeah.
That's just not life.
Just put it in your rhythm, right? Just say hey, I'm going to go clean the junk drawer.
But when it's full or when you can't find anything in it anymore.
Time to get clean.
Then it's time to
get it out. Awesome.
Yeah. And by the way, when your children are a little bit, because you don't necessarily want to put the 4-year-old in the junk drawer, but a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old, hey, you need to sort mommy's junk drawer.
Right. Okay, so now we're gonna wrap up here, but we got some quick tips. So we're gonna rapid fire. It's the lightning rounds before the big bonus game at the end. All right, so we are going to talk about some quick home tips. So this is get your pen and paper out, or nobody does that. They just type on their cell phone.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, hit us.
All right. First of all, I've said it 2,000 times in this thing. Get your paper in order.
Yep.
It's the big easy one. Then condoize or something like it. Whatever. Just go through, shuffle through your stuff. What sparks joy.
Yeah.
But I think there's too much given to just the joy thing because there's also function. Function plays. Then use what you have. This is part of also how we have the budgeting thing. For instance, if you need a bookshelf, right? Okay, you're going to be in this apartment for 6 months. You're only going to be there 6 months, but you really need a bookshelf right there, and it's kind of an odd space. So you're just going to go to IKEA and you're going to spend $200 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. How many Amazon boxes do you have? There are tutorials all over the web about how to tape Amazon boxes together to make, use what it's not going to look great. That's all. I don't want you to go off and spend the $200 on something that's temporary. And by the way, press board, the pins then eventually come loose and it doesn't move well. Don't use what you've got.
Yep.
Also, you've got grandma's tea table. Well, use that as a nightstand. I mean, don't be afraid to use those things. Then as you go on, slowly replace those things. So that because you're not going to, frankly, the cardboard concoction that I've suggested is not going to last that long, but it'll certainly last for the 6 months that you're in the apartment. So, slowly, I'd rather see people spend on a permanent item later on than blow money on the cheap thing.
That was a huge misstep that I made in my first apartment. Is that we got things that we didn't necessarily. I mean, we got things that we didn't need. We got things that we did need, but there was no sort of thinking through that. It was like, let's go to a used couch store and buy a big sectional couch, and that was the first thing that we did. You know what I mean? Just so dumb. So dumb.
Yeah, I mean, and that's totally the time to use the hand-me-down furniture for family and stuff. Because
my grandmother had a beautiful green couch that had my name on it.
And you're going to a used, an unknown
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I get it. That was a long time ago.
Nice touch, have something fresh. So
totally agree with this. Makes a huge difference.
In a space or two, have a vase. Okay, a pretty vase that you like. Something pretty that does in fact bring you joy and you think is beautiful. Occasionally, go clip something from out in your yard or from your neighbor's yard if they let you or whatever, some fresh seasonal thing, and stick it in the water and stick it in there. I will say that tree branch twigs, they stay for a long time. Certain fern leaves stay for a long time. Just something that says, it's a little bit fresh. It's just nice. And it's easy and it's free. Except for the vase, which,
And we talked about, right, don't get hung up on that design pick, right? We talked about all the reasons why you can't get hung up on it. So here's sort of
remember that design pick is only a vignette.
Right. And so here's sort of my final thought on all of this sort of stuff is you got to do what makes you happy. You're the one that has to look at your house every day. You're the one that has to live in there. I use the word joy and peace. If it doesn't bring you joy, if it doesn't bring you peace, then what's the point? It's either a stress or a stress take away or, it's one
it's either a stressor or a de-stressor.
Yeah, whatever. I like making up words. But either way, it's either going to add to your happiness or it's going to be taken away. Right. So, you've got to do what makes you happy. And the other thing because I just know someone's going to say something about, well, what if you're selling your home? Then these things still apply, blah, blah, blah. That's a whole different set of rules. We'll have a podcast on that. That's a temporary situation where you have to live in a different way for a certain period of time so you can get the most money for your home. We get it. We'll touch upon that in the future. So that's really all I had. What about you? Closing words on this long, beautiful, wonderful podcast?
No, I'm pretty happy with I'm pretty happy with most of the information we managed to convey.
Okay, so
I will say the mistakes I made.
that's what I was going to ask
Okay,
you. It's my favorite question to ask you at the end of these things.
Yeah,
You got to stay for the whole thing.
I anticipated this.
You got to stay for the whole podcast to find out where Leslie has made her mistakes.
I let clutter overtake too many times. And it's a little bit more of a pain to do that. Although from the first time that I dug out, it's never been that bad again.
Yeah.
Well, now that I have 4 kids and this last move was less fun than I wanted to have. But still, it wasn't nearly as bad as it could have been. But I've let that get over me. And then I keep hitting the Pinterest vignette thing and going for the perfect little area, the perfect little room, because I've just done that too many times. I've blown money, I've blown time, I've blown stress. The biggest one, we were moving to London, and we were only going to be there for 6 to 12 months. That's the expat joke. How long are you going to be here? 6 to 12 months, and then 5 years later, you're still there, which is exactly what happened. But so we had 2 children at the time. We didn't think we were going to be there forever, so we didn't move furniture over, and we rented furniture. And I decided that I wanted to do the full on, because it was an option. I was just renting everything. It was temporary. Yeah. I was going to do the modern thing that I see in all the magazines, and I love it when I'm flipping through the magazines. And I did love it for about 3 weeks. And it was so cold. It was so hard to warm up, especially since I'd left, we still had our house in Houston. So I'd left everything that we normally.
It wasn't welcoming.
No, it wasn't welcoming. And it took me forever to get that place somewhere where I even felt that it wasn't just, a temporary space.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons it did that is I was going for a pure design. So, no matter what the design books tell you, no matter what they tell you about selling your house or whatever, everyone's throw in a flare that's just yours.
Yeah. And that's okay.
And that's totally
okay. Wow. Okay. So that's going to do it for this episode. Holy cow. Thank you so much for staying with us. I know that was a long one, but again, a lot of good information here. Really.
Again, always ask questions.
Oh yeah. Always ask questions. So, the best place that you can find me is at Ryan Talon at Twitter. That's where I will respond to you directly. If you have any questions, or feedback, please visit the website. That'll be in the show notes. And Leslie, where can
I will usually be on the website, and my email will be on the website, so I'll play there mostly. I do have a Twitter account, so you can find me at Leslie Loftus Text TX. But I'm an infrequent Twitterer.
She has a Twitter. Don't tell anyone. Okay. Yep.
More likely to be on Harry Potter Go these days.
Yes, that's all the thing. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day.